Hello everybody. So today's video is going to be about the biggest misconceptions of schizophrenia and having schizophrenia. I have made a video of this before, but I deleted it in the past, so not too many people have seen it. Plus it wasn't a really good video because I didn't really look up too much on the misconceptions of it. But I mean, I knew most of it or a little bit of it to make a video of it, but I felt like making this video because I've seen so many comments lately that are just very annoying. Um, as you can tell from my schizophrenia on a bad day, there's just so many people like suggesting things when they have no experience whatsoever with anything of the illness. I hate when people give their opinions, which I mean, fine, it's your opinion. Like, I don't care. It's a free country, free speech. You can say whatever you want. Um, but it's different when everybody tries to act like they know every single thing. I'm gonna start off with just something that has been annoying me for years on end now. Is people commenting on my videos saying I should smoke weed. I need to chill and smoke some weed. Um, that is the most annoying thing I've ever seen and the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. The reason being is because doing smoking marijuana while you have a psychotic illness is not the best thing you can do. It's actually one of the worst things you can do to your brain when you have a psychotic illness. Knowing from experience, myself, I've had experience with it, and it's not a good thing. It is actually one of the worst things. Talk to a psychiatrist, talk to a doctor. That's what they tell you. It is the worst thing. For me, it completely messed up my life for about a year, and it caused me to have a panic disorder, and it had me having psychotic breaks, panic attacks every day for months on end. And so yeah, guys, if you have schizophrenia, this is a misconception. This is a misconception also, is if you have schizophrenia, do not smoke weed. Stay away from it. People always talk about all the time with marijuana that it makes them paranoid. Imagine it while you're having schizophrenia and you have hallucinations, you have delusions, and all of that. It is one of the worst things you can do for your brain. Okay, so enough with that. That's just something I had to get off my chest because I'm sick of seeing it. It's just very, very annoying. I don't feel like seeing those comments anymore. I mean, I ignore like most comments, I ignore most comments that are negative. I don't care about it. I don't care if somebody writes a negative comment. Like, nothing. That stuff does not bother me. I just think it's hilarious when people try to give their it's not even a good opinion. People can have their opinions, but it's kind of a stupid opinion. Like, you should do this. When they don't know anything about schizophrenia or the illness itself. That's just annoying. Okay, so enough of that. Another misconception, one of the biggest misconceptions there is with schizophrenia, is that we are violent. Okay? That is a very big misconception. Myself, I've never been violent towards anyone else. I mean, I've been in fights before, but I've never been violent towards someone for no reason. I mean, I maybe have a little bit, but nothing too crazy. And a schizophrenic person, someone who has schizophrenia, they are most likely to harm themselves or harm their surroundings than they would harm somebody else. And it has been said, and it's been proven, that normal people, whatever normal means, just everyday people, are more likely to be violent than schizophrenics are. Now, I'm sure a lot of people know that, but I'm sure a lot of people do not know that, and that's something that can help if these videos get out there. That's something that can help the whole mental health community in itself, is so people will not be afraid of us, and feel like we are unpredictable, that we can snap at any second and just go crazy and beat someone up or something like that. That's a huge misconception. Another one I would really like to talk about. Well, now I want to stay on the violence for a little bit more. Um, I've been violent, like towards my surroundings the most and myself. You know, I've punched myself whenever I'm having a psychotic episode. I punch myself as hard as I can. I punch walls. I break hole. I like uh, punch holes in walls, kick holes in walls. You know, so yes, it's kind of don't come near me if I'm having a psychotic episode, you know, or maybe try to calm me down, you know, that because that works. That works. Is if you try to calm me down, because it's very hard when you're having a psychotic episode to calm down or to become what's the word I'm looking for? Become clear-headed or something like that. So where you're not freaking out and like just know that it's not real. None of this is real. You know, I'm just hearing voices. I'm just seeing things. I'm just like I'm just out of control and I need to get in control. So do not be scared of someone who has a psychotic illness or somebody who has schizophrenia or bipolar. Don't be afraid of them. You know, all they have is just something that makes their everyday life more difficult, and it's very hard to work with, and it's very hard to become normalish, I should say. So yes, violence is not a thing that people should be worried about with schizophrenics at all. So the next misconception is the inability to do anything, or the no, like most, like thinking that most schizophrenics just don't do anything and they can't amount to anything in their lives. That is very, very, very untrue. It makes us, having this illness, it makes us schizophrenics. It's very hard to do these normal things or do these everyday things that people can do. You know, for me, for example, I sat in my room, didn't hang out with anyone for about 4 years. And that was really rough. That was really rough time for me. And it's just extremely difficult to be able to do these things. But we can do these things. We can do pretty much everything a normal person can do, as whatever a normal person is. And it's very possible. Like a lot of schizophrenics have done so many great things. You know, John Nash, for example, he's a famous schizophrenic who has died somewhat recently. And he was a mathematician, and he got a Nobel Prize. You know, he stuck through it. He went through his illness. He dealt with it for a very long time and just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going and didn't stop. Always wanted to do what he loved doing. And when he was unable to do what he was wanting to do, he kept trying and kept trying harder until he was able to do it. So, us schizophrenics as a whole, we're really creative people. A lot of us are very intelligent, extremely intelligent, I should say. But it's very hard for us to be motivated. You know, with schizophrenia, you have the negative symptoms to where you're just flatlined emotion. You just don't really care about anything, and you don't really want to go do anything. But when you get past that, or whenever you get the help to get past that and to do what you want to do what you love doing and stick to it, and nothing will ever stop you. So yeah, we have the ability to do anything we want. Is it a lot harder? Yes. But we can still do it. If we have the drive, the motivation, and the passion and the love for doing what we want to do, or just a human race as a whole, pretty much. But yes, we can pretty much do everything. So another misconception is, and this will help people out too, is genetics. Schizophrenia is not purely genetic, obviously. You know, I would say there's so many things that factor into you getting or you developing schizophrenia. There's so many things. And hold on. So there's so many factors. All right, you have genetics. Now, if you have a family member, one person in your family has schizophrenia, and your life is fine, you don't have any traumatic experiences, the environmental factors, whatever, and you have that one person in your family have schizophrenia, the likelihood of you developing that illness is extremely low, because developing schizophrenia is extremely rare in itself, even if you have a family member in it that has it. I have a family member who has it, so I have the genes for it. Dealt with a lot of traumatic problems in my life and stress and all those things, and that's how my illness developed, is from just so many different factors, not just genetics itself. It's everything in life that will help you, that'll give you the possibility of developing schizophrenia. And for me, this is actually another misconception, is that a lot of people do not develop it instantly. It's a process. It develops over time. You don't just one day wake up and you're schizophrenic. It is a very long process. At least that's how it was for me. I started showing signs of it around 5-6 years old. I was hallucinating quite frequently, and I was a really weird kid. I was very anxious and very paranoid as a kid. Not that paranoid. I mostly dealt with just hallucinations, and I remember I would always call my friend outside. I would always play outside as a kid. No kids do that anymore. I would always be outside as a kid for years and years and years. So I would never knock on their door. I would always yell for his name, or for my friend's name. I would always yell my friend's name to come outside. I wouldn't go knock on the door. I don't know if that's just that just seems weird to me now as I'm an adult. So I was always anxious, very weird, and I was hallucinating as a kid. So it was developing over time, and for a very long time it was just developing. And then around 11, I went through a lot of traumatic experiences with going to a bunch of funerals of my loved ones and my family. I went to about probably 8 to 10 funerals when I was around 11 and 12. And my grandfather, his funeral really messed me up a lot. Before that, I already went to a lot of funerals. Then my grandfather died, who I was really close with and who I looked up to, who I wanted to be like. And he just died when I was 11. And it completely messed me up really badly. And that was a very traumatic experience for me. And at 11 is when it started going out of control with my mental health. I was hallucinating voices. I was very delusional, very paranoid, having voices telling me to harm people, harm myself at 11 years old. And then I was going into middle school. I was depressed, or I don't want to say depressed. I was just not there, basically. I was just like a shell, of who I was. And then when I went into high school, everything was just getting severely worse and worse and worse. So I had to drop out of high school. I had to go in the mental hospital. And then I had to keep going into mental hospitals and out of mental hospitals for about 2-3 years. It took me about 2 years to get diagnosed with schizophrenia. So it's a process, and it takes a while to actually get diagnosed. To actually develop the illness fully. So, another misconception is that it's untreatable. This is the last one I'm going to be talking about. I could talk about more, but I don't want the video to be too long. The illness itself is very treatable, but it's not curable. Obviously, to cure schizophrenia is a lot harder than it is to cure cancer. And you look at cancer and know, wow, that's a deadly thing, and that's something that is horrible. Schizophrenia isn't curable. You have to live with it through your entire life. It's a mental disease that just affects your mind your entire life. So it is treatable by medications and doing other sorts of therapeutic type things, And medicine, for me, I say is very, very good for people to get on if they have schizophrenia, or very good overall, to get on it as fast as you can so the illness doesn't get worse and worse and worse and worse. So for me, I was untreated for a very long time. I started getting treatment around 14, 15, I think. And I started going on antipsychotics. It was awful. I was having a horrible time dealing with the illness and the medicines and their side effects. And it was just an awful time. So after I've been on about 5 or 6 different antipsychotics, I found Seroquel, which is what I'm on right now, and I've been on it for 4 years, and it has worked wonders. I'm much better than I used to be. Sometimes I still have very hard times. Obviously, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be able to deal with the symptoms all the time. I'm always going to not be perfect with my mental health. But medication is a must. I really prefer, if somebody is having a very hard time with their mental health, is to get help immediately. No matter what age you are, do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid to go to a doctor or a psychiatrist to be like, this is what's been going on for a while. I don't know what's going on. And I'm really worried about it. I don't know, those sorts of things. Do never be afraid to talk about anything, and don't be afraid of getting locked up in a mental hospital. I know a lot of people are very afraid of getting locked up in the mental hospital for what their mind is doing to them. The only way you'll get locked up in a mental hospital, or they'll put you in a mental hospital, is if you're a danger to yourself or others. Now that's the only way they'll do it. But if you're just talking about what's been going on with you, then they'll be like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do, and then you'll be on the process of trying to get treatment. And treatment is scary, but it is very necessary if you want to get better, if you want to get help, if you want to live a normal-ish life. That's what you need to do, and that's what I have done. And I have done pretty well for myself. I help a lot of people, and it's great. I've done so much with this illness. And I'm very happy to where I am. So yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video. All of my social media links are down in the description. I got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Patreon, and a Twitch channel. So if you guys want to go check those out, go right ahead. If you like this video, subscribe, like. I make a video every week. So I will see you guys, everybody, and I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Bye, everybody.